Welcome to Holistic Health is Hot, where your journey to sculpting your dream body meets holistic health. I'm your host, Ashley Roberts. Here, we're going to chat about mindset hacks that have completely transformed my life and dive deep into nutrition and movement that will help transform yours. We're going to get into the intense connection between mind, body, and soul so you can glow from the inside out. Let's get into it. And remember, holistic health is hot. Welcome back to another episode of Holistic Health is Hot. And today we're talking all things identity. I named this why rebranding the fuck out of yourself is going to help you lose weight quicker, because it's something that I feel like a lot of people don't focus on. But when you shift your identity, that's how you show up in the world. And that can work with us or against us. So we're going to go over like the power of identity. I'm going to go over a personal story. You know, what I'm even talking about when I say rebranding yourself. Might even throw you my most recent identity work that I did. I don't know. I'm going to see how I feel by the end. And just because, I don't know, I feel like it's personal, you know? But I guess we get personal here. So I guess I will share that with you. So yeah, we'll talk about kind of like the positive and negative effects that having an identity can have, because again, you can use it for good and you can use it for bad. Not like actual bad, but like you can use it against yourself. And then we'll talk about like how to actually rebrand the fuck out of yourself. Some action steps so you can start ASAP. So you can step into exactly who you want to be. And that's the beauty of it. You get to decide. That's what I think is so cool about this work, is you get to decide who the fuck you want to be. And maybe that is a health and fitness girly. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the CEO girly. Maybe it's the outdoorsy girly. Maybe it's the van life. Like whoever the fuck you want to be. You get to decide, which is the coolest freaking part. It makes life so much more fun. When we show up in the world knowing that we get to be whoever we want, it just makes everything more fun. When we show up in the world and we're like, oh fuck, like I'm just going to go to my boring corporate job and just do what everybody says I should do. Just go to college, go get a job, get married, have babies. Like that is a lot of people's life, but it doesn't have to be your life. You get to decide. You get to choose who the fuck you want to be. So let's get into today's episode. Okay, let's talk about the power of identity. Like I kind of said, when you believe that you are the certain type of human, you show up in the world differently. I'm going to give you an example that I have used a couple times probably on this podcast, but when I went vegan, I didn't just kind of go vegan. Like I committed to that shit. If someone like I made it my whole fucking life. Like I made it my whole story. And so when people would, you know, be like, "Oh, do you want to go get a burger?" I don't know who the fuck actually says that, but I would be like, "No, I'm vegan. I can't." You know, and when you step into this identity, you are so much more likely to choose the actions of that kind of person. So again, when I was vegan, I owned that shit. I made it part of my identity. I made it my whole story, and I stuck with it. It wasn't a question when, you know, someone ordered nachos or when someone's eating a burger. It wasn't a question if I was going to eat them or not. I knew in my brain and my body, I was like, no, I'm vegan. I don't do that. And so when we embody an identity of whatever it may be, you don't even question what the fuck you're going to do with your actions. So again, if you decide to be a health and fitness girly, be a gym rat, which I'm not a gym rat. I was at a certain part of time, and I embodied that shit. And I showed up to the gym sometimes twice a day. Was that the healthiest? No. But I'm just saying, when you create this identity of yourself, you show up as that person. So you want to be a health and fitness girly who goes to Pilates every single morning. Cool. If you embody that, it's not a question of, oh, how am I feeling? Don't want to go to Pilates? No, you're a Pilates girly. Pilates girlies go every single freaking day during the week. So you go. I hope this makes sense, because it's one of those things where like, it's not just about saying, oh yeah, I'm a Pilates girly who doesn't go to Pilates. Like, you don't get to say you're a Pilates girly if you're only going to Pilates once a week. Like, it's so important to not only create the identity, but step into that identity. Like I said, if I was telling people I was vegan and then I was like eating meat every once in a while, it's like, no, you're not a fucking vegan if you're eating meat. If you tell yourself that you're a gym rat, but you only go to the gym a couple times a month, you're not a gym rat. And again, you have to take the action with the identity. It's not just about saying, oh, I'm XYZ, and then doing whatever the fuck you want. It's about saying, okay, who do I want to be? How does this person act? And again, we'll go into all of, what kind of some steps to take to actually create the identity. But again, the coolest shit is you get to decide whatever identity you want. Maybe it's not a Pilates girly. Maybe you're a hiker. Maybe you're Orange Theory. I feel like this is such a good example. Like, I feel like Orange Theory is very like culty, where they are like, they live, breathe, and die Orange Theory. And those people show up though. That's the thing. It's like those people that like live, breathe, and die Orange Theory, they're not going every other week. They are going every single fucking day probably, or like multiple times. Also, not healthy to do that intensive workouts every day. Please don't do that. If you're an Orange Theory gal, that's totally fine, but don't go every single day. Your body will not be grateful for that. Okay, but again, you get to create it. It doesn't even have to fall in any of the categories that I said. Even, okay, what's another? I don't even know. I'm trying to think of another, like, people who identify themselves as this certain type of person. Which, yeah, I feel like vegans in general is a huge one, where they are like, very intense with it. And that's how everybody should be with who they're embodying as an identity. But again, it doesn't have to be like an Orange Theory girl, a Pilates girl, a health and fitness girl, a mindset girl. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be something like that. You get to completely create whatever type of version of you, and it doesn't have to fall in some category. Let's talk about what I mean when I say the concept of rebranding. And honestly, when there's a business and they rebrand, meaning that they are just at the core, the business is the same, but when they rebrand, they shift everything, internal and external. It's the same type of business, but they're rebranding everything on the outside. They're rebranding everything internally. And so when I say rebrand yourself, that means you are still the core human that you are, but you get to change your beliefs. You get to change your habits. You get to change how you show up in the world. You get to change your perspective of the world. You get to change your hair color if you want to. Honestly, that's what I feel like I did. And I don't know. It doesn't feel super natural on me. But I feel like in that moment, I was like, no, I'm fucking chopping my hair off. I'm going dark. Like, I'm stepping into a new human. And honestly, I feel like it did help. But now I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, now I know who I really am. The inside has shifted, so I can go back to the blonde on when I actually feel like that's my true self. Anyways, just rebrand the shit out of yourself. And I talk about this a lot, where I've rebranded myself so many times. Let's start off from the beginning. Started off mute, shy, quiet, and I don't feel like people fully understand how mute, shy, and quiet I was. Like, it wasn't like I was just shy and reserved and I didn't speak. When I first started dance, I did not speak. I started off and honestly, truthfully, dance brought me out of my shell, but I did not speak. I was literally silent there. If someone talked to me, I would say one word. I feel like I barely talked to my family, honestly, and maybe this is my own clouded vision of what I remember, but I didn't speak. I was talking in my head all the time. I lived in my brain, completely mute. That is who I thought I was for so long. Honestly, up until freshman year of high school, that's when I had a shift, an identity shift. And I decided I didn't want to fucking be the mute, shy, quiet girl who no one knows her name and is afraid of the world and scared to be herself. And, you know, that is ever evolving. But one day I literally just decided I don't want to be this mute, quiet, shy girl in high school. I decided I wanted to be a real human. And not that if you are mute or shy that you are not a real human, but that is just not who I felt like I truly was. So I shifted that shit. I was like, no, I'm going to speak. I'm going to talk. And I had to get outside of my environment, which is another tool you can use to actually shift your identity. I was at a public school I had been in for so long. I felt like everybody had these preconceived notions on me of being this quiet, shy girl. Who knows? They probably didn't even know who the fuck I was, honestly, because I didn't talk and had no friends. So just kidding. I had a couple friends, but yeah, I forced myself to switch to a different school so I could be whoever I wanted to be. And this really helped me because I don't know, actually, before I go into that, I don't know if I've ever told this story about how one of the reasons I decided I was done being this quiet, mute, shy girl was because there was one day I had like 3 good friends that I hung out with in high school, and that was it. You know, I had extracurricular activities where, was I dancing then? Yeah, I had dance. You know, and I had some friends there. I did soccer, so I had friends there. But like at my actual school, I feel like I had a select small group of people. It was 3 girls that I hung out with. And one day, all 3 of them were gone for the day. One of them was sick. One of them had an appointment, whatever. I freaked the fuck out. Like, freaked out. Ran to the bathroom in the middle of honor science class, and I bawled my eyes out to my mom. I was like, I don't even remember what I said, but I just remember freaking out, being like, you need to come pick me up. I can't be at lunch by myself. I'll have no one to eat with. I don't know what to do. Like, I was afraid of everything. Like, I could not eat lunch alone. I feel like in high school, that is like the death sentence, even though I was mute anyways. No one would even notice if I was sitting by myself. So I called my mom and freaking out, and she was like, I have a meeting, like I can't. And I was like, no, like literally begging her. I was begging her to please come pick me up. I'm freaking out. I have no friends to eat lunch with. And she at first said no. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm going to die if you don't come pick me up. She ended up picking me up, and we just got Chinese food. I was eating some orange chicken, and she was like, you know, Ash, like, I love you so much, but I can't do this. Like, I have a job. I can't just leave, you know, in the middle of it. And I mean, my mom is amazing. She does everything for me. And I never took it as like, you don't care about me, but I took it as I need to figure something out. Like, I can't be this human anymore. I'm so fed up being terrified of the world, and I need to make a change. Like, and so that day I decided, Mom, I want to go to a private school on the other side of town. My brother went there, and I went and toured it. And honestly, it was so refreshing just to be with new people. And now that I think about it, I feel like I like being around new people a lot. Like, I am a very extroverted person where like I love to meet new people. And I wonder if that is maybe one of the reasons why, is because a big pivotal moment in my life was when I had to change everything about my environment and be around new people. And that school was so small that I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen by people because people were actually excited. Also, too, some of my brother's friends were still there because me and my brother were never at the same high school. When I was a freshman, he was in college, but he had some younger friends that were still there. And I just remember his friends coming up to me and being like, hey, Ash, what's up? Like when I toured the school. And that made me feel so special. I don't even know if they realized how big of an impact that actually had on me, but just Taylor's friends, older older guys at, a new high school, like coming up and saying hi to me, what's up? I felt so seen and not invisible. And I think, again, I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm switching schools. And when I switched schools, I came out of my shell so much that year with dance, with switching schools. And I didn't know anyone there, truthfully. I think, I knew some of like Taylor's friends' younger siblings and stuff like that, but I had to kind of start over and forced me to make friends. I was like, I'm not going to be the same person anymore. Like, fuck that. And so I changed. I made friends. And that was also the year too, kind of started to go to parties and stuff and actually was interested in boys. I feel like before that, again, like I was so terrified of the world. I didn't see myself in any way that I was even capable of having a guy like me. Like that was not in the cards at all. So I feel like so much shifted for me freshman year and I became a new human. And even though I actually did end up switching back to my old high school that I started at where I was mute, shy, quiet, people literally reintroduced themselves to me. They didn't know I was the same human because I showed up in a different way. Like just because I went back to that old environment, I still was a different human. And I was different. I made new friends. I became outgoing. I started going to parties. I really became a different human in so many ways. And I owe it all to that scared, terrified version of Ashley who decided she was going to not be that same human anymore, switch her identity. I had to change my environment to do it. And sometimes that's what you got to do. Like if you are not thriving in your environment, maybe you need to make a change. So that was my first really big identity shift, was mute to actually being social, having friends, feeling some confidence in myself. I also owe it a lot of it to dance. I feel like dance makes me feel so confident and so sexy and just so real. Like I feel like my authentic self when I am dancing. And I feel like I really started to figure that out. It also is such an amazing emotional outlet because I did lyrical, jazz, hip hop. I did every single thing. Started and stopped tap a few times, but I don't know. I think dance is cool because you get to live all these different versions of yourself and feel all these different emotions. Because lyrical, it's more emotional, more sad. Same with contemporary, and jazz is like more upbeat and fun, but sometimes like a little bit weird and crazy. So I think that dance really helped me with that too, of just kind of like almost figuring out that I can be whatever identity I want to be. And so I don't think I fully processed it back then, but I think looking back now, that really was a big reason why I was able to, shift my identity and just be whoever I wanted to be. I'm trying to think. I feel like high school, I was dancing, but I kind of started to turn into like this party girl. And that got very intense in college. And I know that, a lot of people will go to college and start partying and whatnot, but I feel like I made that my identity and it was really easy to do in Chico because party is nonstop. Like when I tell you, I feel like people are like, oh yeah, every college is a party school. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Chico was a different level. I've said this so many times too. I'm like, my children are not going to Chico. Like I barely made it out of there alive. It is so insane. Like if my child wants to go to Chico, I'm like, no, you can go somewhere else and you can go visit Chico. It's still like so intense, but like, no, it's too much, honestly. But like in Chico, it's like you literally party. Tuesday was Buck night. Tuesday was like one of the biggest nights of the week. I don't even know what else. Wednesday I had dance, so I couldn't party. Thursday was pitchers. You literally pay like $5 for a pitcher of whatever drink you want. And you put a straw in the pitcher. You don't like share it with your friends. You put a straw in the pitcher. It's like actually ridiculous. Or was that? Maybe Thursday was power hour. I don't know. Long story short, it was wild. And I embodied that though. But I also at the same time, I think, the universe also shows you, let's just say you create an identity of yourself like a party girl and the universe is like, nah, this ain't it, girl. This is not it. This is not the identity of who you're truly supposed to be. Because during that time, even though I embodied this party girl vibe, I was miserable. I lived in my head. I was always self-conscious, always worried about what I did the night before. Friends were always mad at me, always bitching at me. I had an eating disorder. I hated my body. It's so weird. I feel like so many people hype up college and these are the best years of your life. And I think that lived in my head rent free because I was like, how the fuck is anyone else having fun? Because yeah, the partying was fun, but the aftermath of the partying, I was fucking miserable. And then I would drown it out with more partying. So then I wouldn't have to think about how miserable I was in my own skin. And I just remember too, in college, this is kind of a tangent, but like there were girls that partied and were so skinny. And I was like, I didn't understand. I was like, how are you guys doing this? And so in my mind, I was like, oh, they must just not be eating. So then I would force myself to eat as little as possible. And then I would drink and, you lose all of your ability to think clearly. So I would just binge and binge and binge and binge. And this is so personal. I never thought I'd ever talk about this to anyone, honestly, let alone a podcast. But my friends would always get mad at me because I would always eat their food. Like I was the one, they used to call me like a gremlin. And, I know they're like joking about it, but I would always feel so guilty and I'd have to like buy them new food. And it was like the most mortifying feeling of my life where not only are you feeling bad about binging and you just feel like a crazy person, but you're doing it to other people's food and then you have to re-buy their food. Like it is just mortifying. And yeah, I did that for a long time. And so that identity of the party girl, again, the universe was like, no, girl, this is not it. If you embody an identity and you're fucking miserable, like that's not it. That's not the one. Create a new one. This is not working. And that's okay if you have to try out a few. I'm not saying go try out the party girl one because I don't think that's anyone's identity. Maybe for a period of time. I'm not gonna lie, I had another party girl era for a second. And again, like it was fun for a second, and then the universe is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get back to your old self, Ashley. So yeah, I think the universe is always going to send you signals. You always have these nudges in your body of like the type of identity to embody. Like, and again, I'm even thinking about if I embodied an identity of a gym rat, I'm like, no, fuck it. I'm going to be a gym rat. And I think I've tried to force myself to be that way for a long time. And I'm not that. I was for a split second while I was really intense with dance, but I'm not a gym rat. And I think that's okay. But again, the universe is always trying to tell you when you're going in the right direction, when you're not. Because again, if you're fucking miserable being a gym rat when, that's what you're trying to be, it's probably not it. Go try Pilates. Go for a hike. Maybe that's your thing. And yeah, I think, again, the universe is always trying to point us in the right direction. And if you just take the time to listen, you will create the identity of who you are truly, truly meant to be. And, mine is ever evolving. Like I said, I've been a million different types of identities. I'm trying to think. Yeah, after the party girl phase, I was the vegan. I was a vegan. Then I was kind of the dancer girl. I was auditioning for pro dance teams. This was kind of a turning point where I realized how powerful your mind was, because I graduated college. I auditioned for Gold Rush first. And I told myself that's the 49er cheerleaders, if you don't know. I told myself every single day when I woke up, I'm a 49er cheerleader. I'm a 49er cheerleader. I had read one book that touched on mindset, and it said it touched on I am statements, and it said speak what you want to be in the present tense. So I would say I'm a 49er cheerleader. Made it to finals, did not make it the first round. This is a little tangent on my little dance story. And then I auditioned for Warriors. I was doing a training program. But again, all of this, I was embodying the identity of a dancer girl. What does a dancer girl do? She goes to the gym every single fucking day. She practices her dances every single fucking day. Like, she eats healthy. She takes care of her body. And I'm not going to lie, I was still kind of in this disordered eating phase while I was auditioning. I wasn't even protein. I was fucking starving, moving my body this much. I definitely was not nourishing my body in the way that I needed, but in my mind at the time I thought I was. So, yeah, I was so intense with the gym, so intense with eating healthy, never drank. So I really embodied the pro dancer. And again, I told myself every single morning, I'm a Warriors cheerleader. I'm a Warriors dancer. Every single morning I would tell myself that. Made it to finals, made it to training camp, did not make it. That was probably one of the most devastating moments of my life. Okay, that's kind of dramatic, but I think, and if you don't know how training camp works, essentially, they don't even have that anymore, I don't think, but essentially you audition and there's like multiple rounds, it is so stressful. Like, props to me, honestly, for going through the audition process because it's fucking scary. And I was never good at choreography. Like, I'm not one of those people that just picks up choreography and just like, bam, does it. Like, I'm one of those people, I don't know, maybe it kind of reminds me of like test taking where like I just have so much anxiety about remembering it that I feel like it really fucks me up because I don't have the confidence because I'm like, I'm probably not going to remember this. So yeah, whatever, made it to finals. And after that, they announced pretty much that you're on the team. They're like, woohoo, you made it. You get to practice with the team, essentially, is what training camp is. But when the moment I made it to training camp, and I like felt like I made it on the team, you get to do a photo shoot, you get to do all these things. That was one of the most exciting moments of my life. And I think because I had worked so fucking hard, I, had already auditioned for a team and didn't make it. And I kept that belief. I did a whole training program. Every single weekend I was dancing. During the week I was dancing. I also worked a full-time job. So I was putting in the work. And I think that moment that I made it on the team to practice, I was like, holy shit, all this hard work had paid off. And then I made it on the team. And truthfully, the training camp part was really stressful for me. I don't know, honestly, truthfully, if I'm being honest, I think I tried to tell myself, oh, I'm not a night owl. Like, this is, stressful for me because I would have to drive like 2 hours away. Which is not that, like, you do it, like, when that's your dream, you do that. But I would get home at like 1 a.m. and I don't sleep in. So I would literally wake up at like 6 a.m. and then I would like force myself to go for a run. I feel like I was like stressed out. I was really stressed on my body. And also I was just starting to talk to my ex-boyfriend. And truthfully, I feel like, I don't want to blame anyone, but I feel like I was focused on that instead of pushing forward and really trying to make the Warriors dance team work. And again, I'm blaming myself because I was so focused on that I lost sight of like what my actual dream was, which was to be a Warriors dancer. And yeah, I feel like I didn't give it my all, honestly. And it was really stressful for me. I just wasn't focused because I was like trying to pay attention to this like kind of new guy I was talking to, which is so fucking dumb. But anyways, everything happens for a reason because I ended up not making the team. One of 4 of us. There was 4 of us that got cut out of like, I don't even know, 30, 25. And so that was really devastating for me. It still kind of hurts thinking about it because I feel like I tried so hard and then I just like let off the gas. Also, too, one of the main reasons, and there was probably more, but she was like, yeah, there's just too many girls with your look. I was like blonde, brown-eyed, like just very basic looking human. That's a part of the world though, is having the look that they need. And there were too many blondes on the team, apparently. So, but I'm literally like, I'll dye my hair. It's fine. Do whatever. See, I have dark hair right now. It works. Yeah, it still clearly hurts. Anyways, I didn't give up though. That's like the thing that I'm trying to point out is like, even though I still got cut from that team, I I believed in myself more. I told myself every single morning, I'm a 49er cheerleader when I was going to audition for that. I actually wasn't even going to audition. I was going to wait until the next Warriors audition to do that. But my friend Amanda, shouts out, she convinced me. She's like, no, you're trying out. And lo and behold, tried out, made the team, went to the Super Bowl. Like it, again, everything happens for a reason. But I just think it's so interesting how it all worked out. Wow, that was kind of a big tangent. But moral of the story, when you embody the identity of this human, like for me, the dancer girl, I knew I was going to be a professional dancer no matter how long it took. I kept pushing forward. And that's what embodying an identity does, is it keeps you moving forward. And I did. And I loved that part of my life. It was so fun. I was so disciplined and it was amazing. But then after that, I fell in love with health and fitness and building my business. That became my new identity. And, there's seasons of life. And I'm really grateful for each season because it taught me something. And yeah, I feel like I'm definitely still in the CEO identity. I think I definitely have been a little confused on like what I actually want, but I think I figured it out, which is great. And you learn. Again, we're always growing and adapting. And just because you decide an identity, again, the universe might be like, this isn't it. Like I was like, I want to be a fitness coach. Honestly, I could give two shits about working out. Yeah, moving your body is important, but like in a way that is meant for you, in a way that you like. For me, I'm not one of those people that wants to know all the technical different things about the fitness world, which is funny because what started me into this whole world and owning my own business and being in health and wellness was fitness. And so yeah, anyways, you're gonna figure it out, but start with creating your own identity, and it will shift and it will adjust, and that's okay. But the important thing is to create it. And so, a couple of things you can kind of do to either help or hurt you. And I'll explain what I mean in a second, but essentially you can use an identity, again, to help you or to hurt you, because we all have these old identities of ourselves. Like I said, I was the not cute, quiet, mute girl for so fucking long. And I embodied that shit. And again, that was a way I was using it in a negative way, is I was using that identity almost as an excuse to feel sorry for myself and be so terrified of the world. And again, that's using it against yourself. If you are, have this identity and this view of your identity of yourself, and it's not helping you, it's only hurting you. And guess what? You have the power to change it. So use it to your advantage. Create a positive, exciting new version of yourself. Don't use this work for feeling sorry for yourself and playing victim mentality. That's not what this is about. Create a superhuman version of yourself. So let's kind of talk about some steps that you can actually do to rebrand yourself and to create a new identity. Step 1 is always list out all the beliefs you have right freaking now. What are they? Who do you think you are? What are your habits? What are your beliefs? What are your thoughts? And this might take some time. So if you want, pause the podcast, get a notebook, and let's do it together. Yeah. And I think the important thing is don't hold back. Don't yeah, I want to go to the gym 5 times a week. Like, be real with yourself. How often are you actually working out or moving your body? What do you actually think of yourself? And I feel like sometimes I'll work with clients and they're like, yeah, like I don't really like the way that I look. And it's like, okay, you're saying that to me, but like, what is that true thought? Like, I even think about, when I was in college, I thought I was really fat. Like, that's truly how I felt. And if I was working with a coach or something, I probably would have been like, yeah, I'm not happy with my appearance. But it's like, no, my actual thought was, I'm fucking fat. No one gives a shit about me. No one wants to talk to me. I'm ugly. Like, and this is harsh. But being real with what your actual thoughts are, what your actual beliefs are, is so important. Because I think so often we think we try to beat around the bush, and it's like, no, what the fuck are you actually thinking on a day-to-day basis? So that is step one. Pause this podcast if you need to, so you can write out everything back. Write out everything, no holding back. Okay, after that, we're going to figure out who the fuck you want to be. And this might take some time, but I think starting off with just first thought, what comes into your head, dream life, dream body, dream everything. And this is another way I don't want you to hold back. I think so often we can create these identities of what we think is realistic, where we are just like, oh yeah, well, I think I could make more money in the job I'm at. It's like, is that what you truly fucking want? Or do you want to own your own business? Do you want to fucking not have a job and become a travel influencer? Like, be so real with yourself. Especially too, clients are like, yeah, I think 10 pounds is good, as if they want to lose weight. And it's like, is that what you really want? Or are you lying to yourself? Like, be so real. Like, do you want to lose 50 pounds? And again, there's obviously within reason. Like, sometimes, like, I don't want to be 100 pounds. Like, I would literally be starving and malnourished. Like, that's not what I mean. But like, be realistic with yourself. If you want to be fucking ripped, say that. Be real with yourself. Okay, so some questions to ask. But again, being real with what you truly want, not being fucking realistic. Realistic is so fucking boring. It's so boring. So stop being realistic and start like actually saying what you actually want. I think so often we get so terrified of like, well, what if it doesn't happen? Like, this dream is too big. What if it doesn't happen? Well, if you're thinking that way, it's definitely not going to happen. So fucking write that shit down. What do you actually want? Who do you want to be? But just some kind of questions to kind of think about is, figuring out who you want to be. What does she do every day? And that could be job, career, whatever it may be. Don't be fucking realistic, okay? Like, what the fuck is your dream job? How does she talk to herself? Is she hyping herself up every day? Is she more reserved? Like, again, this is your identity. You get to choose. But don't lie to yourself either. I listened to a podcast. I think it was Sam. Shouts out Samantha Daly. She's my mentor. Love her. She was on a podcast. Oh, I'm blinking with the other girl. Oh, it was such an amazing podcast. I listened to it twice already. But she said, I'm an attention whore. Like, maybe she didn't say it in those words, but she's like, I like attention. I think so often people are like, oh, I shouldn't want attention. Attention is bad. And it's like, not everyone wants attention. Like, if you are truly that person that wants attention, own that shit. And I think that's like, for me, I think I am that person that wants attention. Like, I was a fucking 49er cheerleader. Of course I want attention. I'm not just doing it to dance. Like, I could do that in my private home if I didn't want attention. Like, I like to perform. I like to be in front of people. I like to feel pretty. I like to feel beautiful. I like to feel wanted. Like, that is so normal. But own it. If that's not what you want, cool, don't. But if it is, own that shit. Okay, how does she talk to herself? What job does she have? Matcha or coffee? Like, literally, the more fucking details, the better. Are you going to a gym? Are you working out at home? Are you doing at-home Pilates? Are you, like, again, so specific that you can almost, like, feel exactly who this person is. How does she show up in the world? Does she glow? Are people just, like, obsessed with her? Or is she more on the reserved, quiet, beauty, like truly, every little fucking detail. What does she do when she first wakes up? What time does she wake up? Does she have an alarm? Does she want to have one of those Hatch alarm clocks? Does she wake up on her own? Like, every little fucking detail. How does she work out? Again, like Pilates. Does she go for walks? Is that a hot girl walk? Does she live in a city? Does she live in the mountains? Does she live on the beach? Does she surf every day? Does she like snowboarding? Like, create this person. Write everything down. Okay, I might read parts of mine, but this is the most recent one I did. She is confident and shows up in the world like she owns the place, but also makes everyone else feel seen and important. She's constantly hyping herself up in her head. People are drawn to her because she is authentically herself. She has this energy of hot, sexy, confident, independent. It's just a glow about her. She does her morning routine and believes with no doubt she gets what she wants, and it all comes true. She eats nutrient-dense foods, works out 4 days a week, but moves intuitively. She knows her worth and doesn't people please, and people are obsessed with her. Again, this is my private, not so private, identity. And again, I could have gone in way more detail, and I want you to go in more detail. I just wanted to show you an example of, and I've done this work for years now. And so I already kind of have an idea of who I want to be. This is just even more of how she's showing up in her day-to-day life. And some of you might be like, oh my God, that's so conceited. Like, you want people to be obsessed with you. And it's like, yeah, I do. And I'm going to own that instead of being afraid of, oh my God, what are people going to think? And honestly, this is your own thing. You don't have to read it to however many people are going to listen to this podcast, but you should be real with yourself and be able to own that shit to yourself. Like, even yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago, me and Eric did some photos. Shout out Deo. It was so fun. But there's this picture of us, and I was like, oh my gosh, we are giving the Beckhams, like David Beckham and Posh Spice. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to like post this on Instagram. And I was like, oh, like that sounds so conceited. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want people to think, oh my God, like I think I'm as hot as them or whatever. And Eric's like, own that shit. And I was like, he's like, who fucking cares? I was like, oh my God, you're so right. Like, sometimes we can live in our heads and not show up in the way we want to be truly because of what we think people think about us. Not even what people are actually thinking. And it's so funny because, like, I don't know, maybe there were people like, oh my God, you're so conceited, Ashley. How could you think that you look like her or something? But then all the other people were like, holy shit, this is so real. Like, the people that actually care about you. And, people were like, holy shit, this is so real. Oh my God, this is so fire. Like, people said that. And like, it's just funny how in our heads we can get about things when no one's actually, we don't even know. We will never know. We will never be in other people's heads. So fuck what other people think, because we will never actually be able to know what they're actually thinking, and just show up in the world as who the fuck you want to be. Okay. And again, like, with asking yourself and creating this identity, I want you to create a name for her, almost like an alter ego. And I want you to wake up every single fucking day and say, I am the name of this alter ego, new identity person. Okay? But you have to say it with conviction. You can't just be like, I am Superhuman Ashley. Like, it could be Superhuman Ashley or Ashley 2.0 or Leveled Up Ashley, or like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce. Like, or you could literally do that too. Whatever. But like, you're not gonna be like, I am Sasha Fierce. Does Beyonce show up as I am Sasha Fierce? No, she doesn't. She's fucking Sasha Fierce, and she shows up with that intensity and shows up with that energy. And that's what you have to do with this work. You can't just like jot it down and then hope that everything's gonna magically change. You have to show up with the energy of that person. Okay? And again, name it whatever you want. You don't even have to tell anyone. You can set it as your alarm, maybe, on your phone, and just write, I am whatever the name of your alter ego new identity is. Okay? Okay. And again, keep the commitments you make to yourself. But when you create this identity, again, you don't question what your actions are going to be, because you create this version of you based on who you want to be. And there is no question if you're going to show up as her. You just do. And, it takes practice. But it's one of those things where just fucking do it. Okay? Just do it for yourself, for your future self. And again, if there's a point in time where you're like, this doesn't feel right, like I'm trying to show up as a human, it's not coming naturally, I'm not feeling it, then that ain't it, sis. Okay? Create a different one. And do that until you truly feel like you are becoming exactly who you were supposed to be, okay? It's not supposed to be hard. You're supposed to, when you become the person you're meant to be, everything feels natural. And not to say that there's not any ups and downs in life. There's always going to be that. But just everything makes sense. Okay? It's like finding your soulmate. It's easy. It makes sense. It feels right. Shouts out Eric, my love. But yeah, that covers it. Okay? I hope this was helpful. I know we really went into a lot of my past identities, but I hope you enjoyed this episode. I love podcasting. And if you enjoy this episode, please screenshot it, share it on your story, tag me. It would mean the absolute world to me. And if you could rate and review the podcast as well, that would be absolutely amazing. Follow me on Instagram at Ashley Roberts, ASHLEYROBUTZ. And if you are interested in identity work like this, again, this is something that I heavily work on with my clients. Submit the application, Elevate with Ash Life Coaching. That's what it's called. If you want to sculpt your dream body, if you want to feel energized in the morning, you want to work on your eating habits, relationship with food, you want to attract your soulmate, you want a new career switch, like I'm your fucking girl, okay? So, application is in the show notes, and I'll catch you on the next one.